Don't judge, right? I think that that phrase is one of the most popular sayings of Jesus in the Bible. Don't judge. The notion that Jesus was saying that all moral pronouncements, all judgments about evil, about sin, about immorality, about ethics, that all moral judgments about right or wrong, and that all attempts to correct or confront a brother in their sin are out of bounds for the Christian. They're prohibited for the Christian. This is absolutely not what Jesus was communicating. And if it was, then Jesus would be the biggest hypocrite of all. Because we've already been looking over the last couple of weeks, and we have seen that Jesus does a lot of judging. Maybe Jesus is reserving for himself the right to judge, but maybe Jesus is just simply saying, okay, I can judge because I'm Jesus, but you are not to judge. But that's not the case either, and we see that that's not the case. As soon as we move beyond the first verse, we quickly discover that Jesus is not telling his people that we should not engage in making any judgments. In fact, when Jesus says, take the log out of your own eye, and then you'll see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye or your friend's eye, do you hear what Jesus said? He didn't say, don't try to take the speck or the splinter out of your friend's eye. He said, first, take the log out of your eye, and then you will see clearly. So Jesus is clearly permitting us to make judgments. He's just saying the first thing you got to do is you got to make sure that you are judging yourself before you go to judge anybody else. They're judging Jesus, and then Jesus makes a statement judging them for their judgments about him. But here's what Jesus said to them. He did not say to them, how dare you judge me? Don't you know who I am? Do you not know that I am the Messiah? How dare you think that you can be in a position of judging me? Jesus did not say that. Jesus basically invited them to judge him. He said, sure, you can judge me. He said, do not judge based upon appearances, but judge with righteous judgment. We're going to see that there's two equal and opposite problems that Jesus addresses in Matthew chapter 7, 1 through 6, and really all throughout his teaching. One is the problem of judging unrighteously, judging in a manner that is not properly motivated and is not an expression of love for God or love for people. The other problem is the failure to judge when we should judge. That is also a problem. Sometimes we demonstrate a lack of love for God and for people by our unwillingness to judge when we are called to judge. We're going to look at three different characteristics of unrighteous judgment. The first one is we are judging unrighteously when we judge as hypocrites. We are judging unrighteously when we act as hypocrites, when we hold others to a standard that we don't hold ourselves to. How can you walk around with a big log sticking out of your eye while you're trying to take the splinter out of your brother's eye? I don't know if any of you notice this, but Stephen, you got a little splinter or something in your right eye there, and I was very disappointed. How long has that been? Do you know how long that's?
How do you know?
See, that's what bothers me, is he didn't even know it was there. You're walking around with that and you don't know it's there. Well, I'm here from the Lord has sent me to come to you today and to let you know you got to deal with that, and you got to deal with it right now. It's going to cause you problems. You know what? You don't want other people to see that, do you? No. Okay. Well, I just wanted to just bless you, brother, and let you know. I'm glad that he said. Right. I don't understand people like Stephen. I don't understand how they can walk around and not even be aware of the little specks they have in their eye. Maybe some of you can help me afterwards. Second way that we judge unrighteously is when we establish moral and ethical principles, or we make moral judgments that are not biblically grounded, that simply are not true. They're unjust. So that's the second one. They are unjust judgments. We say something is wrong when God says it's right, or we say something is right when God says it's wrong. thirdly, when they're hypercritical. Hypercritical. You know, I mean, don't look at your neighbor right now, but I'm sure you've met that person who they just love to find fault. They just love to pick at everything that is wrong with other people. I mean, that's their favorite pastime, is sitting around and just pointing out everybody's fault. This kind of fault-finding, critical posture towards others where we assume sin before we even have any other evidence because we just look at everybody. It's the attitude that sees people in the worst possible light. It's this inclination to see the worst in them, to believe the worst about them. And the reason we often do this is because as we're finding fault in other people, it puts us in a better light. And here's the thing, when you set out, when you've already decided how bad an individual is or group of people, because this can apply to either the way you look at individuals or groups of people. If you already have a predisposition to see that person or that group of people in the worst possible light, you will tend to find the worst possible things in them. We often find what we're looking for. So you will not be judged. What he was saying in that instance is he's saying, be careful about how you judge, because however you judge other people, you are now judging yourself. Whatever moral pronouncements you make about somebody else, well, those same apply to you. So when he said, judge not lest you be judged, he's warning people. He's saying, be careful. If you show no mercy, you will receive no mercy. Just judgments. Let's talk about what does it mean to judge justly. Well, just judgments, righteous judgments, first of all, are applied to oneself, like we already said. We will first take the log out of our eye before we try to take the little speck out of our brother's eye or our sister's eye. So, second of all, they will be based on truth, not based upon our opinions or our preferences, not based upon the world's view of things, but we will base our judgments on God's word, on the truth of God's word. And then thirdly, righteous judgments are judgments that seek to restore, not to condemn. They seek to restore, not to condemn. Sometimes when we make judgments, it's not to help somebody, it's to get somebody. You're all familiar with the statement, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? Don't bite the hand that feeds you. There's another equally wise statement. Don't feed the mouth that bites you. We are called to love God and love people. And this whole subject of judgment, when to make judgments, when not to make judgments, when do we confront people, when don't we confront people? There's 1,001 different isolated examples where you need to have wisdom to apply the principle in that unique situation. The guiding principle behind all of it must be love.